Hey guys, how you doing? David Hughes with Home Theater Advice Company. We're today gonna kind of do a first-person talk about what is the best speaker type for your room. It's probably the biggest time consumer here. It's what we go over the most because at the end of the day, people come in and they are, they're thinking they want in-walls, or they're thinking they want floor standing speakers and that kind of thing. Some people have a notion of what they want. Some people have no idea. But it's a huge catalyst of not only how your room looks, but it's a huge catalyst of how your room performs. And so today we're going to kind of talk about that, and I'll give you a couple scenarios. Unfortunately, I just got done watching a guy wreck an F8 on YouTube, and he's a really cool, funny personality. I hope I can kind of entertain you guys, but I won't be taking hammers and sledgehammers and stuff to Macintosh amps in here or anything like that. So I might bore you to death in comparison to some of the other stuff on YouTube, but we are gonna let you figure out today what is the best speaker for you. So we're gonna come in my showroom theater here, one of our two rooms here, and we're gonna talk about that in some detail. So in this room, we show two of the three major type of speakers, okay? Those two are in-walls and floor standing speakers. And the reason you don't see any in-walls in here other than the rears is because they're all hidden behind the screen. So we'll talk about that in a second. The whole acoustically transparent screen scenario is a totally separate video. If you need to watch that video first, dip out, come back, because that'll explain that. But essentially there are 9 speakers behind this screen, so that's one scenario. So in-walls are either going to be behind the screen, hopefully a good screen like this, or they're going to be flanking the screen. When a client comes in, I would say more than half the clients that come in here, and that might even be higher than that, come in and they want in-walls. They've seen it, they want in-wall speakers, they think they're clean looking. Here's the deal, look, on that wall over there is an in-wall speaker. This room is kind of like a light gray. The trick is this grill is in fact shifted first of all, but this grill is in fact white, but white with holes in it turns gray. So when you come in the room, the first thing you notice is dead on, this grill here looks a lot like this wall. Looks really, really good on this wall. The problem is a lot of people have a theater that they've painted charcoal or black or something like that. Crimson, red, doesn't really matter. But they've painted the room in some way. So a big white rectangle next to your screen that you're trying to watch, in my opinion, is not the best look, okay? So when people come in and they start off with like, I really want in-walls, I'm kind of like, okay, well, let's talk about that for a second, right? At the end of the day, it's not that they're bad. Well, they're not all bad. At the end of the day, a lot of them are bad. But, at the end of the day, I'm okay selling people what they want. The problem is sometimes people tell me that, and then they tell me they want a badass theater, right? Well, you can't have those two things, because an in-wall speaker is a basically piece of plastic that's usually made in China, almost all of them, especially in-walls. Even the higher end brands, the product is plastic and made in China, right? If I pull that grill off, it's going to be plastic and made in China. Nothing against clips, they're all that way. And there's a reason I have clips in the rears here, and we'll talk about that probably in another video. But at the end of the day, you got plastic in a sheetrock hole, and that sheetrock hole can have anything from insulation that it's not supposed to have, because speakers basically are built at the manufacturing level to sound their best in an 8-foot tall 16 on center stud bay that's open, right? So you put insulation on there, and now that speaker doesn't sound the same as that other speaker. Your left speaker in an in-wall theater might not sound as good as your right-hand speaker, or vice versa. Now, will you know that? Maybe not. If you're watching a movie, will you know that if you're watching, if you're listening to music? Yeah, probably. I mean, depending on the airspace that the speakers are in, those two speakers are going to sound totally different. Just like this speaker array would sound different in a cabinet that's a different size, shape, make, stability, that kind of thing. So it absolutely matters. So when people are like, well, I heard in-walls are good, it's like, well, it just depends on where they are. Now, there are speakers that are back-boxed in-walls, like the ones I have at home, another video. Back-boxed in-walls are going to be the best of both worlds, probably, but you still can only give it a 3.5-inch box to go in the wall. So at the end of the day, you're looking at you know, you're looking at not very much air moving, even in the best of the best in-wall speakers. It's just very, very difficult to get any true volume out of that speaker, and it's almost impossible for it to sound like this unless you spend $10,000 on an in-wall speaker, which, believe it or not, they do have. So that's one type of speaker. The other problem with in-walls, and it's one of my bigger problems, is I went into a customer's house one time, and you know, he was bragging about his theater, and that's fine. I didn't really say anything until later. But he's like, yeah, my neighbor owns an AV company, and they did this for me. And I was like, okay, really? And I said, how many studs do you think he cut out? They had at least a 40-inch in-wall speaker horizontal below the screen. Did it look good? Sure, it looked okay. But I said, do you mind if I see your attic? And this is a true story. Went into his attic, and it was one of those walk-in attics. I walked around the room like this. I used to spend a lot of times in attics. And I looked at the wall, and this guy had cut out 2 full studs in the center of this wall for this center channel speaker to be perfectly horizontal. And I looked up, and sure enough, the roof line was held up on the top of the studs, right at the center where the studs were cut. And I said, hey, buddy, I would call an engineer immediately and figure out if this is okay, because the entire weight of your roof is held up on this wall that you cut 2 studs out of to center a speaker. So we don't love here at Theater Advice, I don't love in-wall speakers on the front, okay? If you got a ton of money and you want to throw 30 grand behind your screen, you know, and you want to hide a theater, and your theater's going to be 50 grand, 80 grand, absolutely, knock yourself out, right? But in normal cases, you're never going to get the quality you're going to get out of a floor standing speaker. So that leads me into the next type of speaker, a floor standing speaker. I'll tell you a couple things about floor standing speakers. It's really important to know this. Most theaters, especially in Texas, not everywhere, if your home wasn't wired to like a rack or wired somewhere far away, you know, you're typically usually wired for network and audio video here, conduit to the projector, that kind of thing. It's your common, you know, Texas theater, right? So if you're wired to the front of the wall, I get all these clients that are like, well, I want in-walls. I'm like, well, you're going to give up quality to gain aesthetics. You're going to give up aesthetics to gain quality, right? So you can pick which one. They're like, well, I don't really want to give up quality. Okay. So where are you wired? And then they're like, well, I'm wired at the front of the room. Okay. So if you're wired at the front of the room, you're already going to have a cabinet, right? That's another video also. But endless content in the home theater world, thank God. So we've got this cabinet already, right? And I'm looking at them and I'm like, so if you like symmetry, you're already going to have a pretty large cabinet, maybe not this one, but a cabinet. You're going to have a sub or 2, right? Hopefully the same size. I show different subs in here so I don't get the symmetry. But, you know, most of the time you're going to have 2 subs flanking that. And I'm like, now you're giving up all your quality to have a white rectangle next to your screen, as opposed to just putting this sleek in-wall, you know, floor standing speaker here, center channel already hidden in or on the cabinet. You know, you got this floor standing speaker, it just fills that space, frames out the screen, looks perfect. If you're wired into a closet, right, which that we get about 25% of the time, we're wired into a closet. Okay, so you like the clean look, you're wired into a closet. That's where we go. In-wall speakers behind the screen, you know, hopefully an AT screen of this quality, but obviously it's not always in the budget, or on walls, the 3rd level of speakers. So we sell a lot of on-wall speakers here. And the reason we do that is the client's like, look, I just don't want these on the floor. I'm wired into a closet. Cool, I get it. No problem. You know, I don't want to give up all the quality for in-walls, because in-walls utilize the wall cavity like we said. I don't have $5,000 to spend on an AT screen. Man, let's go on-wall. And I don't show that here. I'll probably cut in a couple pictures of on-wall speakers right about here. And we'll come back. And so hopefully if the video is right, there's a couple speakers, a couple systems of on-wall speakers mixed in there so you can see them. And they basically flank the speaker or the screen. The reason we love on-walls is most homes are not pre-wired by us, sadly. We use a zigzag technique down the stud bay, and it gives us a lot of placement options of those speakers. Usually all of the other guys choose the spot your speaker's gonna go, which is stupid because the studs don't line up that way. So I've got a speaker, you know, 11 inches from this wall and 18 inches from that wall. What are we gonna do, right? Those are very easy wall plates to paint. They're very easy wall plates to patch. So what we do is we do on-wall speakers. And now I can center up and down. I can center left and right. And we've got these nice big speakers. Focal, for instance, makes gorgeous, almost 5 foot long, ported on the sides, badass on-wall speakers. Just, they give you, especially with a nice sub calibrated the right way, they're going to give you almost floor standing, you know, quality. Beyond this probably, and you know, somewhere in their line, they're using the same tweeters and the same flax drivers that are in this Focal speaker here. We have those on display at our South Lake location here in Dallas. So that's the kind of alternative. Now, if the client's like, I really just want in-wall still, I tell them about the cut stud thing, right? We go away from that because that's not safe. We'll do on-wall sides because those are your mains, those are your most important speakers. Or I'm sorry, in-wall sides if they need to do that or if they want to do that. And we'll do that big on-wall center channel because now we don't want to have to cut out the studs. Usually I can move speakers around on the left and right. The other day we did an install. I shifted the entire room to the left a couple inches. There was no way to get it centered, but we centered the speaker on the speaker, or we centered the screen on the speaker. So the room still looked really good, but again, we're given what we're given with the pre-wire companies a lot of times. If they don't do their jobs right, it causes us problems. So yes, I'm bitter about it. And you know, what we really like is to navigate that with people. We really try to get them to understand, well, what really is the most important thing for us. Bottom line, never going to get the quality of a floor standing speaker in an in-wall or an on-wall speaker without spending an obscene amount of money like a Lexus, okay? And that's just the way it is. Even these at $2,000 a pair, SVS, phenomenal speakers for the money, are going to give you probably better performance than even a $5,000 each in-wall speaker in most cases. Musically, maybe not. Impact-wise, though, for movies, yes, because it's utilizing a lot more air, can move a lot more air, that kind of thing. Jumping into the $10,000, $12,000 range in a Focal, I mean, there's nothing that's going to compare to something like this in an in-wall other than like a Focal Utopia in-wall, which I have at home, another video. But again, $33,000 behind my screen. So, you know, if you're going to go that far, yes, you can now go, hey, I don't want to see anything and I don't care, but your wallet has to not care. And that's just the way that it is. And that's not how we sell here because most of our clients come in here and they do care. And we care about that too. So at the end of the day, best of the best. If you can stand to see them, you're never going to get anything like it. In-walls and on-walls are always going to be the next tier that we go to. And we have a million ways to skin that cat. A lot of products, all of which I'll probably review over the next couple of years in one way or another. You know, behind here I've got Focal 300 series in-wall speakers. Absolute phenomenal experience. They are, you know, $1,500 each speakers or so, $1,100 to $1,500, somewhere in that range. A lot of different ranges within that line too. So, you know, you can kind of go up, down, and sideways there. We've got Martin Logan's back there, and we got KEF THX back there that are only $600 a piece, and they're still awesome. You know, it's all about how you calibrate that sub. Maybe a smaller sub to play some higher frequencies, a larger sub to really dig deep for you. So, you know, there are ways to get the aesthetics for people, but it's really about managing their budget and expectations. So I hope this video, this is going to be one of my favorite and my most important videos, honestly, because it's a huge catalyst of how we talk to clients and what we talk to them about and try to help them navigate, because they'll go and say, man, everybody before us just said buy in-walls. Well, they're trying to sell you the easy thing because you already said you wanted in-walls. You know, and they're high margin. They're, you know, 60 points of margin sometimes. So people are going to want to sell you what makes them the most money, and that's fine for them. But for us, we sell it to you if it makes the most sense for you. I talk about it in that way to people that are buying from me and people that aren't buying from me. So we're always going to be a little more honest and upfront about it. And you know, also when you go floor standing, last catalyst, when you go floor standing, maybe a little higher end than this, but when you start getting into the KEF R7s, you know, maybe some Martin Logan Motion series, some stuff like that. When your budget is in the $20,000 range or so, nice projector, nice screen, good speakers, maybe you throw an amplifier in there off the receiver pre-outs. When you start diving into that world, you know, we tell people that tell us they're not audiophiles, they don't care about music. I'm like, look, put Hans Zimmer on in that room, put some cello on in that room, get a glass of wine, and see why these speakers cost that money. Because I think you'll use the room in a different way if you do experience that. So, you know, we try to open people's eyes and open up their world to, you know, to a lot of things that they didn't do before. You know, give them a hobby. So it's a fun hobby. It's an expensive hobby sometimes, but. hopefully this helps. It's going to be one of my favorite content that I put out there. And like and subscribe, and there'll be some boring video to remind you to do that right after this, I think. Thanks, guys. Hey, I really just wanted to take some time after every video to put this on there and really thank you for watching. Any subscriber is going to mean a lot, obviously, to the channel. It's going to help us create more content. As always, please like and subscribe. And the most important thing to us is that you drop something in the comment section. You know, hopefully it's positive. If it's negative, that's fine. I'll probably blow right by it because people's opinions of me don't matter, which is a good thing. But the most important thing is that you drop something in the comment section, you know, that you want to know about. And a lot of times that might be something that I have experience with, or that I've had experience with. And you know, even if I don't have it here to feel, touch, see, I'm just as happy to give you my opinion on it, and things like that. And it'll always be honest opinion. If I get 5 or 6 of those comments that I think that I should do a video on, I'll kind of just sit here and talk through those, you know, those scenarios, what I think about that, and you know, kind of do like a Q&A type thing if that's cool. And again, I really appreciate you guys watching, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks.